The Browns signed an offensive lineman, Germain Ifedi. I know you dealt with this Locked On Browns podcast. What do you find interesting about that?
The Browns, as far as their offensive line situation, almost everybody is kind of like tied to a spot. We don't know who another left tackle is technically on this roster. The best of James Hudson we've seen has been at right tackle. Of course, that is where Conklin plays. That, of course, for now is where DeJuan Jones plays. Batonio's a guard. Teller's a guard. Posic's a center. Whippler, you drafted last year as a center. Ifedi is one guy that comes in. He has over 40 career starts as a right tackle. He has over 20 career starts as a right guard. So I'm not saying that a Germain Ifedi is automatically going to make this final offensive line roster. There's still a lot of time to go between now, certainly, and the end of August. But that's versatility and it's experience at two different positions. So the Browns, they're probably still going to carry 9 or 10 any way you slice it, but having one guy that is easily capable of jumping in and starting at two positions. There's not a lot the Browns have that way right now currently on the roster. So that makes it interesting from that standpoint. I know some people were wondering whether or not there was a crossover between he and new offensive line coach Andy Dickerson in their time in Seattle. There was none. But this is a guy that does have some true versatility, that he has started a lot at more than one spot on the offensive line in the NFL.
How many locks do you think there are on the O-line? Again, I know you dealt with that on the Locked On Browns podcast.
Well, I mean, the starting five, and you figure for right now, Jack Conklin is your right tackle. So obviously that is Jedrick, that is Joel Batonio, that is Ethan Posick. Of course, that is Wyatt Teller, that is Jack. There is your five. You figure DeJuan Jones obviously is a lock in what capacity his role is going to be, where he plays. And it's a tough position, but it's also a great position for the Browns to be in. They have two tackles, veterans that they're okay with. They have a budding star that they're in love with. It's a great position for them to be in. So there's your six. Dunn obviously is your swing guard. There is your seventh guy. He was signed for over $1 million guaranteed. He's not going anywhere. You need a backup center, Luke Whippler, right there, drafted last year. A lot of people felt he was a year away. Hopefully this offseason has gone exactly what the Browns were hoping for, and he will be the eventual future starting center for the Cleveland Browns. That's 8 right there. Then you bring up a name like Germain Ifedi, a guy who has started at two positions more than 20 times in his NFL career. James Hudson, you go to that Baltimore Raven game last year where the Browns went down to Baltimore and they kept running the ball over the right side behind Wyatt Teller and behind James Hudson. And Jerome Ford probably had his best statistical day in yards per carry, because I know that's been a huge thing with folks about Jerome Ford. And he had a monster day that day. And James Hudson was just bodying dudes from the right tackle position. I'm not saying Hudson's a lock, and we all know the rumors are there that the Browns are going to be heavily interested in drafting some young offensive linemen, which I understand. You have a brand new offensive line coach. He wants to start to put his feel into the room. But for me, that's 8 right there. And, Ifedi, hey, maybe it works out. He makes this team. Maybe it works out where, Browns love to do this late in the summer. Hey, I can't keep the guy. You had an injury. I'll take a potential day 3 pick, da-da-da-da-da. But there's already 8 guys, in my opinion, that are going to make the Cleveland Browns offensive line. Of course, that's not counting injury and any of that other stuff.